welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Infinite Quest, written by Alan Barnes and directed by Gary Russell. This is an animated series of Doctor Who, originally airing as 12 4-minute episodes, I believe. They're really short episodes, as segments in the TV programme Totally Doctor Who, a sort of Blue Peter-like style show that would tie into Doctor Who, and they have like interviews with the cast and crew, and they'd have like a look at behind the scenes and stuff. It was mainly targeted at a much more kid-friendly demographic than Doctor Who Confidential. They would have like Doctor Who related contests and stuff like that, and it was basically like Blue Peter, but a Doctor Who themed version of it. But the main segment of interest for me anyway, and for a lot of people, is The Infinite Quest. There were 12 episodes in total, 12 individual segments, starting off, which aired literally moments after Smith and Jones, and would continue out throughout during series 3. So you would watch an episode of Doctor Who one day, and then on the next day you would watch Totally Doctor Who and catch up on this expanding adventure. And so that was kind of unique. There was planned for a 13th episode. However, on its own, it was never aired. During the conclusion to Last of the Time Lords, the final episode of Series 3, what they did is that they basically took all the episodes, including the unaired 13th episode, and edited together to make one feature-length episode, all animated, and that's the version that is actually released on the DVD. So we're in very unique circumstances, nowhere in the history of Doctor Who where this has happened. And personally, whether you like the story or not, I feel like this is something which should be done more often. Doctor Who and animation seems like a pair fit for the gods. Like, Doctor Who is a series which explores a vast amount of locations, and animation is an unlimited supply of creativity. These things should easily go intertwined with one another. But this isn't the first Doctor Who animated story. It's the first one that's an original animated series which is considered canon, but it's not actually the first. We've had a few episodes of the lost episodes from the 60s that were basically remade with animation with the original audio. A great example is in The Invasion. But also as well, we have Scream of the Shulker, a Doctor Who story which was supposed to kick off a completely new series before 2005 came, and that story was then, by a majority of fans, considered non-canonical. With the state of official canon in Doctor Who, canon is whatever you want it to be. So if you want to say that the Scream of the Shulker is your version, your canon, then by all means that. I do have Scream of the Shulker, but I'm not going to talk about it because personally it doesn't fit with my canon. At least I haven't decided to talk about it yet. Maybe I will in the future. Who knows? But anyway, so yeah, this is a very unique story because it's the first televised canonical animated stories with the David Tennant, Freema reprising their roles as the Doctor and Martha. We also have Anthony Head playing the villain Balthazar, really cliched name, and yeah, that's it. It's really strange. I don't know if a lot of people know about this story. You can tell by the cover that it's a very cheaply made animation. In fact, this art style was also used for the Doctor Who Top Trumps PlayStation 2 video game. So that's what you will. Now, this is the official BBC DVD cover. So I own the official DVD cover, DVD right there. But like always, I print out my own DVD cover to fit in with my shelf. This one was created by the Doctor Who 2. I know nothing about them. So anyway, let's put these together and see what it looks like what it usually looks like on my shelf. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There you go. So that's what it looks like on my shelf with David Tennant over there, and you've got the Creature Monster, and you've got you got Balthazar over there, Martha, the Doctor. I can't remember what the pirate's name is. I just realised this guy doesn't do a very good job at illustrating the story, essentially. Here's the spine, if anyone is interested. Very nice with David Tennant. The arm of the creature leaks out. I'm not a fan of that, but what can you do? I could have made my own cover. Oh well. And here's the spine, the back, which gives it away that it is not one of mine that I created. So anyway, we talked about the cover, we've talked about the behind the scenes of the episode, and yeah, so let's actually get into the story at hand. So originally episode 1, now reinterpreted as the pre-credit sequence, sees Balthazar basically getting ready to conquer the Earth. He has created a device on his ship he's created by hand to basically turn every single living creature on Earth into diamonds, and he can do it in 3 seconds flat, only quickly being interrupted by the Doctor and Martha. And the Doctor seems to already know Balthazar as a famous figure in history. The Doctor's like, oh, forget about your Blackbeards and your all the other pirates. This is the main deal. It's strange how the Doctor goes right into the villain's base and like introduces him to Martha as if like it is this is one of the few occasions in which the Doctor is intensely going out against a villain. It's not like he's going to explore, he is going out to take down this villain. And so the Doctor brings out his spoon. Whether that's a reference to the 7th Doctor, who was a huge fan of spoons, or whether that was purely coincidence, I have no idea. But anyway, Balthazar knocks it off the Doctor's hand, and because of the place where it comes from an alien race which is an expert on fungus, it rusts the ship extremely quickly, and the Doctor and Martha get out the TARDIS, and the ship gets destroyed with Balthazar escaping with his pet robotic bird. There's a lot of robotic sentient creatures in this story, or at least creatures that appear robotic, or creatures that give off a robotic appearance. So I think it was just easier to animate, but it gives this story a unique flavour, a unique look in it. And so the Doctor basically tells Martha to pick a few random digits and we'll go and explore a different adventure, as Balthazar is like, Doctor, you will wish you never were born! Very cliched, very cartoonish. Now, if this was an average episode of Doctor Who, you could criticise it for its more childish, not childish, but it's more cartoonish, cliched, almost cheesy layout of the story, if you will. Balthazar is A-class villain, cliched villain. He's constantly got these monologues about how he's going to conquer the universe and destroy everything 0 seconds flat, and how like the Doctor should never be born and stuff. And he's got like a really cliched look. There's also like a theme of pirates in this story, I've noticed as well. because Balthazar is described as a pirate-like entity, and he's got like a claw hand with two claws with a beam coming from it. He's also got this like really bug-like mask. Looks a bit silly, but it's one of Doctor Who's first animated series, so and it's targeted for kids, so it can get away with being a little bit silly. Now the villain is actually voiced by Anthony Head, a very famous British actor who's actually appeared in Doctor Who before. He played the main Crinitane. What's the thing from School Reunion? He was the main villain in that story. So it's not even his first time interacting with the 10th Doctor. But he has such a great, iconic voice for a villain that it doesn't actually bother me that despite him having a very iconic voice, that he would be voicing here, despite him voicing being another character in another episode of Doctor Who the year prior. It's a very great performance by Anthony Head, even if the character's a little bit cliched. Nothing really there to dig your teeth in. He only really appears in the start and the end of the story, as we will get on. The Doctor's TARDIS gets interrupted by Balthazar's bird, who actually takes them to his home planet, in which he describes that, from his point of view, it's been actual several years since that, and the Doctor and Martha freed him from his captivity. However, he knows that Balthazar's sentence is coming to an end, and he fears that the Balthazar is going to come after him, but also that he is looking for the infinite, and he's got this basically a black box, a small little thing with the infinity sign on it, and there's 4 of them, and each part will take him closer to the infinite. And the Doctor originally is like, this is just a rumour, this is just a legend, and plans on just destroying the one he was given by this metal bird. But the metal bird is like, no, don't do that, he's got a copy, you just gotta find them all and get to the infinite before Balthazar does. And so the infinite quest begins. Now, the infinite is a very interesting in terms of the mythos of Doctor Who, and for the writing, the filmography, shall I say, of Alan Barnes. For you see, the infinite is something that was left during the dark times. The Doctor even mentions the Rachnos and the giant vampires, and that this thing was created during the dark times before recorded history, presumably a legend, and whoever gets it gets their heart's desire. Why is that such important? Why is that significant to Alan Barnes? Well, you see, later on in 2020 and 2021, Alan Barnes would be basically the showrunner for a massive multimedia Doctor Who event known as Time Lord Victorious. Sadly, for those of you Time Lord Victorious fans, I won't be tackling with most of the stories as far as I'm concerned with this video yet. I haven't got any stories in that saga at the moment, but things could change. But anyway, and one big element of Time Lord Victorious is dealing with the dark times. So to hear Alan Barnes talk about the dark times with the 10th Doctor here, it seems like it's setting the seeds for the 10th Doctor to have this multi-media, multi-event Time Lord Victorious advent. So that's kind of interesting, I think. Obviously it doesn't really play a part with Time Lord Victorious. This came out like almost 15 years prior to Time Lord Victorious, but it's still interesting nonetheless, in my opinion. I've completely gone off a tangent. Now, the story here is actually structured a little bit different, because this story, I feel like, just to go on a little bit of a tangent here, I feel like the story works a lot better in its original 12, 13 short minute episodes rather than this condensed version. Sure, it means that there's no credit scenes and you're not constantly interrupting the flow, but this story is set like essentially Trial of the Time Lords or The Key to Time, in which each episode in the actual series is its own little adventure, or at least like they were bundled up together, and so it's saying, and put it in this one episode means that the story does kind of feel compressed, but it's got a very unique storytelling style which only really works in animation. And if Doctor Who ever made a big budget Doctor Who movie, I feel like this is the format you should go, because it deals with the TARDIS going around anywhere and any place. That concept is actually put to the focus here, as the TARDIS goes around the universe looking for pieces of the infinite, and so we get transported to different places. The first place we travel to is this desert-like planet in which there's these oil fineries sucking up the oil from basically a dying planet, and Martha gets interrupted from a pirate. The pirate has a earring of the infinite, and she has a skeleton crew. Quite literally, a skeleton crew. And I don't know if that is if Stephen Moffat saw this and used that as influence for his story in series 4. Don't know, but it is kind of strange to see Vashta Nerada-like creatures in Doctor Who like this. And this pirate woman, she basically is like, right, Doctor, you might be a pirate, you might be working for the oil refinery, I don't care, you're gonna die. And one of the pirate crew, one of the skeleton crew is like, no, instead of shooting him, should we do something else, boil him in oil? And he gives this hint, it's like, don't worry, Doctor, you're completely safe with me. And the Doctor kind of works out that this person thinks that the Doctor's working for the oil factory, and that this person is actually like a secret agent for the oil factory, and the Doctor basically has to walk the plank. Now this is like the theme I'm talking about of pirates. Balthazar was a pirate. Here we're acting with like real like pirates. We even have like the skeleton and the bones like that. And then the betrayal happens, and the captain escapes whilst the oil refineries start shooting on the pirate ship. But because of their lack of great aim, it destroys the ship, and the Doctor and Martha tries to track down the captain, only for her to have seemingly been murdered, leaving the infinite on the floor. And so the Doctor has to pick it up and go on to their next location. And yeah, that's a small little segment of the story as we already get into the next plot line, which kind of means that there isn't very in-depth character. Luckily, the animation of it and the cheesiness of it does kind of help. Like, sure, these characters don't really have much interesting to say, but with these unique designs for Doctor Who and their bombastic personalities, does shine out as memorable. Good or not is a different question, but memorable that they are. And with the big variety of this story, we go from the sands of this planet to a bug-like, plant-like planet where there's these loads of like stonish, mud-like buildings that are towering up. And the Doctor and Martha first interact with these glowing bugs and get introduced then to this frog-like creature who has this kind of posh accent. I do kind of like him. He has the infinite on his necklace, and he takes Doctor and Martha to meet this bug queen, and she basically explains that her people, her race are being invaded by another race. This is war. The Doctor and Martha have found themselves in a war zone, and that this frog creature has come here to be their basically their war chief. But it turns out he's actually just a gun runner, selling them guns so they can fight in this war. One of these creatures that they are fighting actually finds itself in this bug in this bug base, and the Doctor and Martha basically discover that they actually are innocent creatures. When the Doctor opens up its shell, it's revealed to be humans, and it turns out that the humans were actually here first, and these bug creatures invaded. The bugs then betray the frog guy. Yeah, it all sounds really silly, and that's because it is. It's not supposed to be a dark interpreted story. It's supposed to be a light piece of entertainment, and it does that very well. The Doctor tries to stop this nuke. I don't know if it was a nuke, but it's something that will destroy everybody. So it's essentially a nuke. And the Doctor comes up with this plan because the humans won't listen to the bug creatures because they are, from the human's perspective, these morphless, disgusting creatures. And so the Doctor basically pretends to be a pirate. Yeah, another pirate. There's a whole theme of pirates in this story, who has captured the bug queen and is basically surrendering for them on the human's behalf. And so the Doctor acts like a criminal, even does the "R" moment, and in a scene which actually reminds me of Blink, where they're on the recording and Martha steps in and the Doctor's like, no, don't do that. She has a little cameo in that little segment. Reminds me a lot of that scene in Blink. You know what I'm on about. And so the humans surrender, and the Doctor's looking at the two races, and it's like, you two need to work together. You want the planet for its dung? Well, the humans don't need the dung. You can have the dung. You can work together with this guy that we rescued. He can be like the ambassador. So come on, Arthur, let's go and find the frog person because he's ran away. And when they find him, they find that he has actually died and leaving the infinite on the floor. Another case of them chasing a character who has mysteriously died with the infinite left intact. And so the Doctor takes the infinite and tracks it to the next location, a frozen prison planet, which is actually mentioned during the very beginning of the story, as it was the place most likely for Balthazar to be kept prisoner on here. So I don't know if this was set him being the prisoner on this planet set before or set... Actually, no, it was set after episode 1 from his perspective. So the Doctor and Martha go in through the front door, basically, and get captured by the prison cell. The Doctor has a vast amounts of crimes against him, and so he gets locked into a prison, as Martha, being, at least in the galaxy, a completely innocent creature, gets to meet with the governor. And the Doctor is cellmates with this robot who he tries to fix. And the Doctor notices something strange. This robot has an inhibitor. He cannot commit a crime even if he wanted to. So what's he doing in prison? So the Doctor's hell-bent on breaking him out. As Martha meets the governor, but notices that he has the infinite in his what's it called? In his safe. But Martha quickly gets the sense that this is not... that he is like a much more greedy, a much more selfish individual who would normally run a prison planet like this. And he kind of gives the game away when the Doctor breaks off and when this character realizes that the Doctor is put in a cell with this robot, he's like, no, nobody should have put him with the Gover, and stops himself. And Martha realizes that that this isn't actually the governor, this is actually a prisoner who was let out, and then he broke back in because he was jealous of the real governor, this robot, and so he then takes over the prison as the new governor, living in luxury. Which is a very nice little twist to this segment of the story. Right off the bat as well, I want to state that the variety in this story is just incredible. We've gone from a sandy to this darkish forest city, and now to this frozen metallic place. The variety is just all around a great segment of this story, and keeps the story fun and engaging as we, as a viewing audience, are kind of wondering where they're going to go next. Very intriguing, that kind of, and that's what I mean, like, it works better in its 12, 13 segment rather than a feature length, because it keeps the audience, like, when the credits roll, it's like, ooh, I wonder where they're going to go next. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. So the Doctor breaks out and fixes the governor, but the governor now doesn't have the inhibitor and believes that basically all these prisoners cannot be redeemed, so he's going to kill all of the prisoners. Whilst the fake governor, he basically takes everything from his safe and goes off to the planet's surface to try and escape. As Martha goes looking for him, the Doctor uses his techno-babbles to try and stop the self-destruct. The Doctor, the way the Doctor, like, just kind of presses a few buttons, it's like, oh no, this is hard, how am I gonna solve this? He tries to ask the fake governor, but the governor gets away. Then he presses more buttons, and then that's resolved. That was a bit silly and even a bit cartoonish, even for this story, in my opinion. There you go. So the Doctor, Martha goes up to the surface, and this person then pretends to fall dead and puts then Martha to gunhole, but then realizes there's something coming up close behind Martha, as it turns out the robotic bird, and Balthazar are hot on their tail, and he captures the final piece of the Infinite and holds the Doctor and Martha prisoner, and the Doctor basically sets up the TARDIS so that it'll take him straight to the Infinite with just one button. The Balthazar basically is like, right, we don't need any use for you, Doctor, and he knocks him unconscious, leaving him on the prison planet, as Balthazar takes Martha to the Infinite, to this mysterious part of the universe in which the Infinite provides in this location, leading into the final segment of this adventure. And I find it a bit, like, in terms of continuity, there is an issue here, because the TARDIS is supposed to be, what's the word, like, it only works to, like, the Doctor or, like, a friendly individual's controls. So how can Balthazar control, unless he made Martha do it? Actually, I think I just answered my own question there. And we get this really great, stunning visual of the Infinite, which is clearly like a broken down ship, but we never get a really good look at it, as most of it's covered in shadow with lightning, space lightning, like, shattering around, all around it. Now, speaking of visuals, the sceneries I think are really good, and when I think the CG effects, they look really good. However, I feel like the 2D animation on the characters is hit and miss. I feel like, especially with the 10th Doctor, some angles are just not flattering at all. There's some bits where the David Tennant's face looks really zigzaggedy, and sometimes he's a little bit too thin. The little bit too off-putting and really doesn't fit with David Tennant. Obviously, being a cheap BBC animation, the animation is also very limited on the 2D animation, so there's not a lot of variety of movements here. But Doctor Who has always been a much more wordy series anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. But the visuals of the locations, which is the main selling point of Doctor Who in animation, like it can go anywhere in any place. I feel like that was well delivered in this story. So anyway, back to the Infinite. Balthazar lets Martha Jones go in first, maybe presuming like there's some sort of booby traps, but clearly, it's not a very smart move on his part, because Martha could get her heart's desire. Her heart's desire could easily be, don't let Balthazar get what he wants, and he doesn't get what he wants. But Martha goes down into the hub of this massive broken down ship, to which she meets up with the Doctor. How is the Doctor there? She quickly figures out, it's like, right, the heart's desire. Her heart's desire is to be reunited with the Doctor. Again, this is something when it comes to the Doctor and Martha's relationship, where the implication here is that Martha is in love with the Doctor romantically, but I feel like it's left just enough that in my head it could just be, because she's befriended the Doctor throughout these adventures, and she relies on him to save her, and so her heart's desire is basically the Doctor to be there, not rather than the relationship. I mean, of course there are episodes where you can't deny it, but here I can deny it, goddammit. Okay, let's talk about Martha's characterization. Martha is very Martha-y, shall we say, in this story. There's a lot of great moments with her. There's a lot of great moments where her and the Doctor are talking about like the situations, and she kind of works things out herself, and the Doctor's like, we do have moments where the Doctor's like, oh, Martha, you're brilliant, you are. And that thing I didn't like with Rose, when it seemed like the Doctor was just saying you're brilliant, and all the little things that didn't really matter was peering up his head. But for the majority of the scenes, it was well deserved, and Martha kind of feels like on par with the Doctor here. In that sense, she's a little bit more like Romana in that sense. She can keep up with the technobabble. In fact, she realises that the spoon will rust the ship before the Doctor even mentions it, because of her biological training. She kind of knows, or at least that's the implication anyway. I don't actually know if that actually makes any sense, but she knows much about fungus. When she falls, she self-diagnoses that she hasn't broken any wrists and stuff. She was the one who worked out the governor. She was also the one who realised that the creature in the bug segment was actually like an innocent person who was scared. And so Martha gets a lot of great little moments here and there. So the story, Alan Barnes does Martha well. Well done, Alan Barnes. You're a great writer. And so whilst upstairs, Balthazar gets attacked by the real Doctor, who has actually spent 3 years on the prison planet reforming the robots to work for him, was reprogramming the bird. The bird gets the death scene, and it's, despite them betraying Martha, the Martha kind of forgives it straight away, because she kind of understands the situation. And that scene, despite being poorly animated, is actually a very well hidden scene for a kids program. Like if that scene was in an average episode of Doctor Who, I don't think it would have been as strong. But for especially like the smaller segments that this story was originally being, I feel like that works really well. And so the Doctor upstairs has a fight as Martha basically realizes this isn't the real Doctor. We have this really cool image of the infinite version of the Doctor's. His eyes and mouth get beamed out with light, as the real Doctor gets involved. And then the Infinite tries to tempt him with something off screen, which the Doctor's like, yeah, don't even try to tempt me with my heart's desire. And we never actually see what it is. I love the fact we don't see what it is, because it leaves up to the audience's expectations. A lot of people would have, I would presume, see it as Rose coming back to this universe. Some might even see it as the Time Lords returning, because this was during the time when the Doctor's home planet was destroyed during the events of the War Doctor's era. So that could be it. It could be Susan. I like to think it's Susan. In my personal opinion, I think it's Susan that he sees. But like I said, the story doesn't actually tell you what he actually sees. And so Martha is basically right, I don't believe you, and the Infinite Doctor disappears. Bit of a weak way of ending it, but these episodes are originally made to be much shorter, so it kind of makes sense in that regard. And Balthazar gets his heart's desire, a massive amount of gold, enough gold which will pay for all the ships and everything he's ever wanted, and he can destroy the Doctor, Earth, and all the planets and the prison planet with complete ease. But it's not actually real, despite the Infinite giving the heart's desire. It's more like an illusion rather than the actual thing. And the Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver to basically loosen up the Infinite ship. As the Doctor points out, it's only basically holding up through wishful thinking, and it's at a very weak state, and so the ship starts basically crashing. We get a scene then which kind of seems kind of dark of the Doctor originally, in which the Doctor kind of leaves Balthazar there to get destroyed as the TARDIS dematerializes. But the Doctor lets Balthazar a way out as the robotic bird picks up Balthazar and basically sends him back to the prison planet so he can be sent to prison for his crimes against the universe. Maybe I was teasing up for a sequel. I would love to see a sequel to The Infinite Quest. Wouldn't you? So yeah, that would have been really cool. And that's The Infinite Quest. Overall, it's a very unique piece of Doctor Who media. I don't think there's ever been a story like it. It shows the vast variety of what a great Doctor Who animated series could do. And I feel like this could have led to bigger and better stories. However, we only got this one adventure in terms of this style and this type of Doctor Who story, which is a bit of a shame, honestly. But yeah, I would love to have seen more like this. I feel like this story was a great way of introducing the idea of, right, an original Doctor Who animated series. It feels like a great setup to a Doctor Who, a great singular adventures which will show the variety of Doctor Who. You've got a story in which the Doctor goes to at least 4 different locations, each with their own unique style and their own unique characters, with their own personality and their own quirks. And if this was like a pilot episode, it would have worked so well as a pilot episode, but it's not a pilot episode. It's a mini-series that has been condensed in DVD form as a single episode of the same length as your average new series Doctor Who episode. I feel like the shorter segments work better for the pacing of this story, but of course, without the lack of credits, for time consumption, and less interruption and stuff, most people might prefer it in the version that we got on the DVD. I feel like this is a good story which had the potential to be a great story. It's a great pilot, which never really led anywhere. I wanted to know if there were actually plans to make an animated Doctor Who series. It feels like this story feels so much like a pilot that I would be surprised if there was not even a discussion to continue this. But what do I know? So there you go, that's the Infinite Quest. So join me next time when the Tortured team come up with find out the conspiracy about dead bodies, and they need to revive the right person. But who should they revive? An old friend, perhaps? So join me next time for They Keep Killing Susie. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!